Hey everyone, this is Jennifer from the blog From White Guilt to White Ally, and I'm really excited to be introducing a book club. I think it's going to be so much fun for us to take a book every couple months or so and just read through it chapter by chapter and get to know the topics really well and also be introduced to some other authors in the field who write really great books that I think will be really helpful to you. This one is written by Özlem Sensoy, who's a Canadian professor, and Robin DiAngelo, who's an American professor. They both work in education departments. And the name of the book is Everyone Really Equal? An Introduction to Key Concepts in Social Justice Education. So I thought it would be great if we just went through and did one chapter per week. And this week I'm just going to go through and introduce it to you so that you can kind of get a feel for what this book is about. And you can also pick up a copy in time to read for the next chapter. So, this book introduces the topic of social justice literacy. The authors mention in the preface that they're looking to help you build a foundation in what social justice is and understanding how social justice can play a role in our everyday life. And they differentiate between social justice and what they call critical social justice, in that social justice is generally thought of as this idea that we all, as human beings, should be treated fairly and equally. But the reality is that a lot of people who adhere to that philosophy aren't actually living that out. And so rather than getting lumped in with people who aren't really living a socially just life, they decided to kind of change the term a little bit and call it critical social justice instead of just social justice. And the reason why is because they're really encouraging us to think critically about all of the knowledge that we receive and kind of recognize that relations of unequal power are constantly being enacted at both the individual level and structural levels. So it's not just about personal prejudice in our own lives, like we talked about in the Bloomer article, race prejudice as a sense of group position, but it's also about the structures in our society and how they impact different racial groups and how racism gets played out without us even realizing it sometimes. And so the philosophy that they have in this approach is that they consider all people individuals, but they're also members of social groups. So to help me, I like to think about cliques in high school. And so we all know that, as individuals, for the most part, we all belong to some kind of a clique in high school. So the next point is these social groups are valued unequally in society. So you can think about the cheerleaders and the jocks, the nerds, the skaters, whatever other groups that you had in your high school. And you know that they were ranked. Some of them were really popular, some of them were really unpopular, some of them probably got bullied and picked on. And so you can see the inequality there. So, social groups that were valued more highly had greater access to resources. And then the opposite is true. The social injustices were real, and some of these groups didn't have access to the same resources. And so, for a high schooler, a lot of times what's really important is those social connections. It's where they're really learning how to interact with other people, how to make friends, how to work with others, and things like that. And so, anyone who has a high schooler knows, a lot of times it's hard to get them to stop texting on their cell phone and talking to their friends all hours of the night. All they want to do is go out and hang out with their friends most of the time. Of course, every child is different, but you get the picture. So that social capital in high school was really important, and not everybody had equal access to it. So you can think about the cheerleaders and jocks that got invited to most of the parties, and even probably hosted most of them, versus maybe the nerds who didn't really hang out that much with other people. Maybe they were ostracized. So the next 2 points are kind of a dual point, they kind of go together. Those who claim to be for social justice must be engaged in self reflection about their own socialization into these groups. and must strategically act from that awareness in ways that challenge social injustice. This action requires a commitment to an ongoing and lifelong process. And so hopefully you feel like that's what we're doing here is we're making a commitment to engage in social justice education in our own lives, to think critically about the role that we play in treating other people fairly and justly, and creating equity in our own lives and in our own country. So think about the way these cliques are played out in the cafeteria. And you can probably think of ways where, certain groups sat together, maybe certain groups were picked on and bullied. In the cafeteria where everybody had social time and downtime, it's really easy for these interactions to take place. And so we're going to look at the areas of our life that kind of function like that cafeteria, to separate people, to segregate them, and to really shape our interactions. And we're going to think about practical things that we can do to take control back and to really shape those interactions ourselves. So the first chapter introduces something called critical theory, and it talks about the importance of thinking critically about social justice and really distinguishing between opinions and facts, and understanding that the opinions that you have are very important. I have opinions too, we all do, and they're important, and sometimes they're really valid and justified, but we have to be able to back up our beliefs with fact. Otherwise, it's really not going to get us anywhere. We can't be stuck in lies and untruths and opinions if we want to move forward. We have to be able to look at current research critically and think about how it applies to our life. And so I'm really looking forward to the next chapter and helping maybe prepare our minds to do that. So if you're as excited about this book as I am, I hope that you'll like this video and make sure you subscribe so that you'll see when the next one gets posted. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/guilt, the number 2 ally, and you'll find that link in the description box below. You'll also find a link to purchase this book on Amazon. Of course, you don't have to get it from Amazon, but I thought you would be able to get more information from there, and the ISBN number is there, so if you wanted to buy it from another bookstore or if you wanted to get it from your library, you could do that too. So I'm really looking forward to going through this book with you, and I'm really excited about the discussion that's going to come from it, and I'm just really looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. Thank you so much, guys.